Hippocrates, father of medicine. Hippocrates, often honored as the father of medicine, stands as a monumental figure whose name resonates through the annals of medical history. Born around 460 BCE, on the Greek island of Kos, Hippocrates emerged during a time when superstition and divine wrath were seen as primary causes of illness, instead of accepting the prevailing norms. He pioneered a rational approach that sought natural explanations for disease, shifting the trajectory of medical practice from spiritual conjecture to empirical observation. He challenged the societal norm of associating ailments with punishment from the gods, advocating that diseases stemmed from environmental factors, diet, and lifestyle choices, ideas that would eventually lay the bedrock for modern medicine. This revolutionary thought process underscored the importance of systematic observation and logical deduction in understanding human physiology and illness. His ideas were codified in what is now known as the Hippocratic corpus, a compilation of around 70 texts that, although not all directly written by him, reflect his philosophies and clinical methods. These works emphasized patient-centered care and careful documentation, introducing principles that are still echoed in contemporary medical ethics and clinical procedures. Central to Hippocratic medicine was the theory of the four phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, which needed to be balanced for optimal health. While this theory has long been superseded by advances in biology and medicine, it represented a step toward explaining bodily functions through observation rather than divine interpretation. Hippocrates also stressed prognosis over diagnosis, focusing on understanding the course of a disease over simply naming it. This orientation pushed doctors to closely monitor symptoms over time and to develop comprehensive care strategies rather than seeking immediate cures, a methodology that resembles long-term health management approaches used in today's practices. He introduced terms and concepts that laid the foundation for clinical terminology, and his commitment to observing symptoms meticulously paved the way for developing detailed case histories as standard practice in current medical records. His influence also permeated medical education. Hippocrates championed the idea that medicine was a distinct profession requiring formal training and ethical responsibility, contrasting sharply with the itinerant healers of his time, who often lacked structured knowledge or moral codes. His teachings insisted on learning through hands-on practice, anatomical study, and reflection, elements that still inform the curriculum of modern medical schools. The ethical standards attributed to him culminated in the Hippocratic Oath, a pledge that has endured across centuries as a symbol of professional integrity and duty in the field of medicine. Although modern versions of the oath have evolved, its core values of doing no harm, maintaining patient confidentiality, and dedicating oneself to the welfare of patients remain pillars of medical conduct globally. Hippocrates believed in holistic care, promoting the idea that understanding the patient's environment, mental state, and lifestyle was crucial to treatment. He advised physicians to consider seasonal changes, geographical influences, and even the winds when evaluating health conditions. This comprehensive perspective encouraged the integration of physical, psychological, and environmental assessments in healthcare, an approach now mirrored in integrative and preventative medicine. His emphasis on natural healing processes also led him to advocate for dietary regulation, proper hygiene, and physical exercise as vital elements of health maintenance. This preventive outlook is echoed in modern public health campaigns that prioritize healthy habits over reliance on pharmaceuticals alone. His approach was remarkably forward-thinking, encouraging physicians to function as facilitators of the body's natural recovery mechanisms rather than merely agents of external intervention. Moreover, Hippocrates' legacy extends beyond clinical methods and into the philosophical realm, where he positioned medicine as a discipline rooted in logic and ethics. He saw the physician not merely as a healer, but as a moral agent responsible for navigating the complexities of life, death, and human suffering with compassion and wisdom. This elevation of medicine to both a science and a moral art has inspired generations of medical practitioners to regard their profession with reverence and responsibility. His articulation of medicine as an art underlines the balance between empirical evidence and the intuitive understanding of human needs, a balance still sought by practitioners striving to combine data-driven treatment with empathetic care. His writings also contain early reflections on prognosis and palliative care, recognizing the importance of managing pain and comfort even when a cure was not possible. His observations extended into fields we now classify separately, such as psychiatry and psychosomatic medicine. He acknowledged the influence of emotional and mental states on physical health, anticipating modern understandings of stress-related illnesses. This insight foreshadowed the biopsychosocial model, a dominant framework in current medical psychology and therapy. Additionally, Hippocrates promoted the concept of clinical detachment, advocating that doctors should maintain a professional distance to make objective decisions while still being humane. This delicate balance remains a challenge for today's physicians, who must navigate empathy without compromising judgment. His insistence on rationalism also laid the groundwork for evidence-based medicine, a cornerstone of modern healthcare. Decision-making that relies on systematic research and clinical trials. The historical impact of Hippocrates is not confined to ancient Greece, as his teachings were translated and preserved through various civilizations, including Roman, Islamic, and European traditions. They became central to the evolution of medical thought across continents. Islamic scholars like Avicenna drew from Hippocratic principles to develop their own medical treatises, which were then reintroduced to Europe during the Renaissance, sparking a revival in classical learning and scientific inquiry. This transmission of knowledge underscores Hippocrates' enduring relevance and the global nature of his intellectual legacy. His principles influenced not only doctors but also philosophers and scientists who sought to understand the human condition through observation and ethical inquiry. In addition to his direct contributions, Hippocrates shaped the societal image of the doctor by promoting the ideals of wisdom, temperance, and self-discipline. He helped to elevate the social status of physicians and distinguish medicine as a noble profession. This transformation in public perception facilitated the development of institutions, including hospitals and universities, dedicated to the study and practice of medicine. His life and work continued to be celebrated in medical schools, hospitals, and professional associations that honor his name as a symbol of dedication to human health. Monuments and statues erected in his memory, as well as continued references in textbooks and professional discourse, highlight his unmatched legacy in the medical world. While the exact biographical details of Hippocrates remain partly shrouded by myth and legend, the essence of his teachings survives through the timeless principles he introduced. He advocated for continuous learning, reminding physicians to remain humble before the complexity of the human body and its ailments. This humility is reflected in the ongoing pursuit of medical advancement, where each discovery builds upon the questions posed by early thinkers like Hippocrates. The fusion of scientific rigor with compassionate care, first articulated in his writings, continues to define the ideal physician in the 21st century. The spirit of inquiry, ethical responsibility, and patient-centered focus he championed forms the foundation upon which modern medicine has flourished. In a world increasingly dominated by technology, algorithms, and data analytics, the humanistic values that Hippocrates introduced remain crucial. His legacy serves as a reminder that medicine is not merely about curing diseases, but about understanding individuals, respecting their dignity, and committing to their well-being. As we confront global health challenges and redefine the future of medicine, the enduring wisdom of Hippocrates provides not only historical insight, but also ethical guidance. His life's work, rooted in reason and reverence for human life, continues to inspire medical practitioners to uphold the highest standards of their calling. Thus, Hippocrates remains not just a historical figure but a living influence, shaping the minds and morals of those entrusted with the care of humanity. Florence Nightingale, founder of modern nursing. Florence Nightingale, remembered as the founder of modern nursing, revolutionized the healthcare system with her vision, determination, and tireless commitment to human welfare. Born in 1820, into a wealthy British family, she defied societal expectations of women in her era by choosing to devote her life to nursing, a profession considered unsuitable for someone of her status. Her decision was met with resistance, yet her resolve remained unshaken, driven by a deep sense of purpose and moral conviction. Rather than pursuing a life of leisure, she dedicated herself to studying hospital systems, sanitation practices, and healthcare logistics, gaining practical experience in various institutions. Before stepping onto the world stage during the Crimean War, her work at the British military hospitals in Scutari changed the course of medical history, where she identified that more soldiers were dying from unsanitary conditions than from battlefield injuries. By implementing basic hygiene protocols such as hand washing, improved ventilation, and proper waste disposal, she dramatically reduced mortality rates, laying the foundation for modern infection control standards. Nightingale's method was not based on theory alone. It was grounded in rigorous data collection and analysis. She meticulously recorded patient outcomes and hospital conditions, using statistical tools to advocate for reforms. She pioneered the use of visual data presentation, including the Coxcomb diagram, a type of pie chart that effectively illustrated the impact of hygiene on survival rates. These visuals caught the attention of both the public and political leaders, helping to drive policy changes across the British military and eventually in civilian hospitals. Her use of data to push for health reforms established an early example of evidence-based practice, which remains a cornerstone of modern medicine. Her influence extended beyond the war zone, as she returned to England and authored numerous reports and books that guided healthcare professionals and administrators. One of her most impactful works, Notes on Nursing, provided essential guidance not only to nurses, but also to anyone caring for the sick, underscoring her belief in universal health knowledge. Through her leadership, nursing was transformed from an unskilled, often disreputable job into a respected profession that required education, discipline, and ethical standards. She established the Nightingale Training School for Nurses at St. Thomas Hospital in London, emphasizing the importance of hands-on clinical training, moral character, and compassion. Graduates of her school became leaders in healthcare reform, in their own right, spreading her principles around the globe and elevating the status of nurses in society. Her efforts set the precedent for nursing licensure and curriculum development, making structured training a key feature of the profession. This foundation encouraged the emergence of nursing as a vital component of healthcare systems, responsible not just for patient comfort, but for recovery, advocacy, and public education. Nightingale's legacy empowered generations of women to pursue meaningful careers in a domain that had once been closed to them, reshaping gender roles and professional dynamics in healthcare. Nightingale's achievements were not confined to hospitals. She conducted extensive research into healthcare, infrastructure, sanitation, and preventive medicine. She advised on the design of hospitals to improve airflow and reduce crowding, understanding that environmental conditions significantly influenced patient outcomes. Her recommendations shaped hospital architecture, contributing to safer, more efficient spaces for treatment and recovery. She also worked with governments in India and other British colonies to improve sanitation, promote vaccinations, and reduce the spread of infectious diseases. Her influence reached the highest levels of political power, and she frequently corresponded with national leaders, advocating for comprehensive health reforms grounded in empirical evidence. She recognized that systemic change required more than personal effort. It needed organized data, clear communication, and institutional support. Her skill in navigating bureaucracy while maintaining her principles made her a unique figure in the annals of public health reform. Despite her fame and influence, Nightingale led much of her life in physical seclusion due to chronic illness. Yet, from her London home, she continued to direct health policy, train nurses, and publish medical literature, proving that impactful leadership does not always require public presence. Her persistence in the face of adversity set an example of resilience and purpose. She believed that the true measure of success was not in accolades or recognition, but in measurable improvements in human lives. Nightingale refused to rest on past achievements, continually seeking new ways to refine healthcare delivery and nurse education. Her adaptability and forward-thinking nature made her a perpetual student of the evolving needs of society. Even as she stood as a pioneer in her field, her impact extended to military preparedness as well, as she helped develop systems for medical record-keeping and logistics that improved the care of soldiers. She understood the interplay between health and economic productivity, arguing that healthier populations contributed to stronger nations. By framing public health improvements as both moral imperatives and economic necessities, she broadened the appeal of her proposals. This strategic communication allowed her to secure funding and support from diverse stakeholders, making her a master of persuasion and advocacy. Her dual emphasis on ethics and efficiency reflects the modern financial principles behind healthcare investments, where value-based care focuses on maximizing outcomes while minimizing costs. Nightingale anticipated these modern frameworks through her commitment to results-driven reform and rational resource allocation. In the realm of education, Nightingale's influence was transformative. She emphasized that nursing was not merely a technical task, but a profession that required critical thinking, judgment, and a holistic view of patient care. Her insistence on lifelong learning encouraged nurses to stay informed about the latest research and medical advancements, She viewed nursing as both an art and a science, balancing empathy with evidence and intuition with analysis. This philosophy continues to guide nursing education programs, which aim to develop professionals who are as compassionate as they are competent. Her holistic view also contributed to the patient-centered care model that dominates today's healthcare strategies, emphasizing the importance of treating patients as individuals with emotional and psychological needs, not just physical symptoms. Nightingale also understood the importance of morale, not only among patients, but among healthcare staff. She recognized that the environment in which care is delivered affects outcomes, and she advocated for clean, well-lit spaces that uplift the human spirit. She believed that healing involved more than medical intervention. It required dignity, comfort, and respect. These ideas have since informed hospital management philosophies and wellness initiatives aimed at improving staff satisfaction and reducing burnout. Her work underscored that institutional culture plays a crucial role in the effectiveness of care, making her a pioneer in healthcare organizational development. Her legacy is preserved not only in historical records, but in the values embedded within the nursing profession. She remains a global symbol of integrity, compassion, and relentless advocacy for the vulnerable. Every year, International Nurses Day is celebrated on her birthday, a testament to the enduring relevance of her life's work. The principles she established guide global health organizations, academic institutions, and clinical practices, affirming her as one of the most influential figures in medical history. Her name is invoked not merely as a tribute but as a call to uphold the highest standards of patient care, education, and ethical leadership. Nightingale's vision went far beyond treating the sick. She envisioned a society where health was a universal right and where caregiving was recognized as a profession of profound importance. Her contributions have had a ripple effect, influencing healthcare policy, economic planning, and social progress. She demonstrated that care and precision, data and empathy, could coexist to create systems that serve all layers of society effectively. Her work has informed modern debates on health equity, access, and workforce development, showing that sustainable health systems are built on both evidence and humanity. In today's world, where technology increasingly shapes healthcare delivery, Nightingale's human-centered approach remains a guiding light. Her emphasis on listening to patients, understanding their environments, and tailoring care to their unique circumstances is as relevant now as it was in the 19th century. She reminds us that amidst innovation and advancement, the essence of healthcare lies in service and compassion. Her principles encourage financial prudence in healthcare management without sacrificing quality, echoing the current pursuit of systems that balance efficiency with empathy. As medical science continues to evolve, the enduring lessons of Florence Nightingale remind us that progress is most meaningful when anchored in purpose, integrity, and a steadfast commitment to human dignity. Clara Barton, pioneer nurse and founder of the American Red Cross. Clara Barton, remembered as a trailblazer in humanitarian aid and nursing, profoundly shaped the landscape of emergency response and public health through her dedication, innovation, and unyielding commitment to alleviating human suffering. Born in 1821 in Massachusetts, Barton displayed compassion and resilience from a young age, characteristics that would define her life's work. Educated in a time when women had limited access to formal learning, and even fewer professional opportunities, she forged her own path through teaching clerical work, and most notably, nursing. Her earliest experiences caring for an injured brother sparked a lifelong passion for healing and service, preparing her for the trials she would later face on far more chaotic and dangerous battlefields. During the American Civil War, Barton found her calling not within the constraints of an institution but on the front lines, delivering aid directly to wounded soldiers, regardless of the risks involved. Her presence on the battlefield was revolutionary at a time when nursing was largely informal and when women were rarely permitted in war zones. With no formal medical training, she relied on instinct, courage, and practical knowledge to provide care, earning the admiration of soldiers and commanders alike. Barton's work during the Civil War transcended conventional caregiving. She became a logistical strategist, organizing supplies, coordinating volunteer efforts, and identifying underserved areas in need of immediate medical attention. Her approach was marked by initiative and independence, often transporting bandages, food, and medicines in wagons she arranged herself, all while navigating bureaucratic resistance and dangerous terrain. She understood that swift response could mean the difference between life and death, and she acted decisively in moments of crisis. This operational foresight would later inform her contributions to global humanitarian efforts. She became known as the angel of the battlefield, not because of sentimentality but because of the effectiveness and impact of her hands-on approach. Rather than waiting for instructions, she anticipated needs, empowering herself and others to act when institutional systems lagged behind. Her field experience helped her understand the broader challenges of disaster relief, such as resource allocation, psychological trauma, and sanitation, shaping her comprehensive view of emergency care. After the war, Barton took on another monumental task, helping families trace missing soldiers. She created the Office of Missing Soldiers, through which she and a small team received tens of thousands of inquiries and helped identify the fate of thousands of fallen or missing servicemen. This endeavor demonstrated her unwavering empathy, organizational skill, and ability to connect deeply personal stories to a broader social cause. Her methods of documentation and correspondence laid an early foundation for information management in crisis situations, a model that remains critical in disaster response efforts today. Her relentless pursuit of closure for grieving families reflected a deep respect for the human cost of conflict and a belief in the dignity of every individual affected by war. She never viewed her work as charity but as a moral responsibility, grounded in equity, compassion, and justice. Barton's tireless spirit did not rest with the conclusion of the Civil War. In the years that followed, she traveled to Europe to recuperate and was introduced to the International Red Cross during the Franco-Prussian War. Witnessing their organized and impartial relief efforts deeply inspired her. Upon her return to the United States, she resolved to establish a similar organization, adapted to the unique needs and challenges of the American landscape. This determination led to the founding of the American Red Cross in 1881, with Barton serving as its first president. Under her leadership, the organization responded not only to war-related emergencies, but also to natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, and hurricanes. She expanded the scope of humanitarian work to include peacetime crises, advocating for a proactive and prepared approach to national emergencies. Her ability to adapt global models to local contexts highlighted her strategic acumen and visionary leadership. Building the American Red Cross from the ground up required Barton to navigate political systems, secure funding, and educate the public on the necessity of such an organization. She spoke at events, wrote persuasive literature, and lobbied government officials to ensure the Red Cross received recognition and support. Her advocacy culminated in the United States joining the Geneva Convention, formally acknowledging the neutral status of humanitarian organizations in conflict. Barton's diplomacy and persistence placed the American Red Cross on the international stage, solidifying its role as a crucial player in disaster response and public health. She believed in institutionalizing compassion, embedding relief work, international policy and infrastructure so that help could be systematic rather than sporadic. Her administrative approach combined emotional intelligence with meticulous planning, a balance that continues to inform nonprofit management and philanthropic strategy. One of Barton's most distinguishing qualities was her refusal to let societal norms limit her ambitions. Operating in a male-dominated society, she challenged gender roles by assuming leadership in fields traditionally inaccessible to women. She proved that competence and character mattered more than convention, setting a precedent for generations of women to follow. Her example expanded the boundaries of what women could aspire to, not through rhetoric but through action. She showed that leadership is defined not by position but by the ability to respond, mobilize, and persist. Her courage to operate independently, even when misunderstood or opposed, marked her as a pioneer not only in nursing but in women's history and civil service. Her emphasis on neutrality, independence, and voluntary service formed the bedrock of Red Cross philosophy. She insisted that aid be delivered impartially, without political or military entanglements, a stance that protected the credibility and trustworthiness of the organization. Her legacy also included an insistence on volunteer empowerment. She cultivated a culture where ordinary citizens could contribute meaningfully to relief work, believing that preparedness and goodwill could transform communities. This inclusive spirit democratized disaster response and encouraged civic responsibility. Barton's work revealed how decentralized networks, when guided by clear principles and coordinated efforts, could achieve remarkable outcomes even under extreme circumstances. Throughout her career, Barton exhibited extraordinary resilience. Whether navigating war zones, managing massive correspondence, or rebuilding communities after disasters, She maintained a focus on outcomes over recognition. She often faced criticism and doubt, yet she remained undeterred, driven by an unwavering belief in service. Her life's work reflected a practical idealism that bridged moral vision with actionable steps. She turned empathy into infrastructure, intuition into systems, and personal conviction into public service. Her refusal to compromise her principles gave her the strength to persist through bureaucratic delays, physical exhaustion, and social resistance. Even in her later years, Barton continued to lead with purpose. She remained involved with the Red Cross until the age of 83, stepping down only after ensuring the organization had firm institutional roots. In retirement, she wrote and lectured widely, reflecting on her experiences and encouraging future generations to adopt lives of service. Her writings, filled with first-hand accounts and strategic reflections, remain valuable educational resources for those studying nonprofit leadership, humanitarian logistics, and crisis response. Her life demonstrates that sustainable progress requires a mix of vision, dedication, and adaptability. Clara Barton's influence extends far beyond her time, resonating in every modern emergency response, every organized relief effort, and every institution that puts humanity above all else. Her emphasis on preparation, coordination, and ethical responsibility remains a guiding standard in the humanitarian sector. As global crises evolved, the structures and philosophies she helped create continued to adapt, testifying to the strength and flexibility of her foundational work. Her example illustrates that the best solutions emerge from those who are willing to act decisively in the face of uncertainty and to serve not for glory, but for the greater good. Her name symbolizes not just a person, but an enduring movement of compassion, backed by action. Through her legacy, Clara Barton continues to inspire resilience, leadership, and the courage. Jonas Salk developed the polio vaccine. Jonas Salk, the brilliant mind behind the first effective polio vaccine, remains an enduring figure in medical science, whose work reshaped the global landscape of public health and preventive medicine. Born in 1914 in New York City to immigrant parents of modest means, Salk exhibited an early interest in science and a deep sense of empathy for others. This combination of intellectual curiosity and social responsibility would later define his legacy. Unlike many of his contemporaries who pursued careers for personal advancement, Salk's ambition was grounded in a desire to serve humanity through innovation and discovery. His upbringing in a working-class environment instilled in him a profound appreciation for opportunity and a keen understanding of the impact disease could have on communities with limited access to healthcare. These formative experiences laid the foundation for a career that would culminate in one of the most significant medical breakthroughs of the 20th century. During the first half of the 1900s, poliomyelitis, commonly known as polio, was a devastating disease that left thousands of children paralyzed or dead each year. It struck without warning, targeting the young in particular, creating widespread fear across nations. Parks, swimming pools, and public places were often deserted in summer months, when outbreaks were most common. This public health crisis demanded a solution that science had not yet been able to provide. While other researchers were pursuing the virus approaches, which involved the risk of accidentally triggering the disease, Salk took a different path. He focused on a killed virus vaccine, believing that an inactivated form of the virus could stimulate the immune system without causing harm. His methodology, though controversial at the time, was rooted in rigorous laboratory research and careful clinical judgment. He worked at the University of Pittsburgh, where he and his team spent years developing and refining the vaccine. Through extensive trials and laboratory testing, Salk's process was defined by thoroughness, integrity, and caution. He refused to compromise on safety, testing his vaccine on animals, volunteers, and eventually on himself and his family before initiating broader trials. His ethical standards and research were exemplary, setting a precedent for transparency and patient safety in vaccine development. In 1954, a nationwide field trial was conducted involving over 1 million children, in what was the largest medical experiment ever undertaken up to that point. The results, announced in April 1955, were nothing short of groundbreaking. The vaccine was safe, effective, and marked the beginning of the end for polio epidemics. The response was immediate and overwhelming, with school bells ringing across the United States and communities erupting in celebration. Salk became a national hero overnight, though he remained humble and focused on the broader mission rather than personal accolades. A defining aspect of Salk's character was his refusal to profit from the vaccine. When asked who held the patent, He famously responded, "There is no patent. Could you patent the sun?" This simple yet powerful statement encapsulated his philosophy that medical discoveries, especially those with the potential to save millions of lives, should belong to the public and not be driven by financial interests. By choosing not to capitalize on his invention, Salk forfeited what could have been substantial wealth, prioritizing global access and equity. His decision allowed for mass production and distribution of the vaccine, accelerating its adoption worldwide and saving countless lives. This act of selflessness remains a defining example of moral leadership in science, illustrating that true success lies in service, not in profit. Following the success of the polio vaccine, Salk continued his work by founding the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in 1960. Located in Loyola, California, the institute was designed as a haven for collaboration among scientists across disciplines, fostering a spirit of inquiry and innovation that extended beyond the realm of immunology. He envisioned a place where science, art, and philosophy could converge to explore the mysteries of life and address global challenges. The architectural design of the institute itself reflected his belief in openness and clarity, with open spaces meant to inspire creative thinking. His post-vaccine work delved into areas such as cancer research, aging, and the human condition, showing that his scientific curiosity was both deep and wide-ranging. Salk's impact was not confined to the laboratory. He became a public figure, advocating for science, education, ethical responsibility, and rational approaches to health policy. He frequently engaged with political leaders, educators, and the general public to promote understanding and trust in medical science. He understood that the success of any medical breakthrough depended not just on the discovery itself, but on the systems that delivered it, and the public's willingness to embrace it. He emphasized the importance of public communication and trust building in scientific endeavors, a principle that continues to hold immense relevance in today's context of vaccine hesitancy and misinformation. His calm demeanor, articulate explanations, and evident sincerity earned him the respect of millions, and positioned him as a bridge between the scientific community and the broader society. His dedication to scientific integrity was matched by his sensitivity to human suffering. He viewed medicine as a moral enterprise as much as a technical one. The eradication of polio became not just a scientific victory, but a humanitarian one. In countries where vaccination campaigns were implemented, the number of new polio cases dropped dramatically. His work demonstrated that science, when applied ethically and strategically, could transform global health outcomes. The lessons learned from the development and distribution of the polio vaccine informed future vaccination programs for diseases such as measles, rubella, and hepatitis. The principles of large-scale immunization, data collection, and international cooperation pioneered during Salk's time became templates for subsequent global health initiatives. Salk also contributed to the philosophical conversation about the role of science in society. He believed that scientific progress should be aligned with the values of compassion, equity, and sustainability. He often reflected on the responsibility that came with knowledge, insisting that scientists must remain connected to the ethical implications of their work. This holistic view positioned him as more than a researcher. He became a thought leader, advocating for a world where innovation served the common good. His speeches and writings emphasized that scientific advancement must not occur in a moral vacuum, but rather in harmony with the social and emotional needs of humanity. His belief in the interconnectedness of disciplines encouraged a broader view of health and wellness that included psychological and social dimensions. In the decades following the introduction of the polio vaccine, Salk witnessed the dramatic decline of the disease that once haunted childhoods across the globe. Although complete eradication would take time and continued effort, the initial breakthrough had created a path forward. The fear that once gripped families during polio season began to fade, replaced by a sense of security and hope. His work inspired a generation of scientists, physicians, and public health professionals who viewed disease not as an inevitability, but as a challenge to be overcome through knowledge, collaboration, and determination. Salk's story became a symbol of what can be achieved when intellect meets compassion, and when individual brilliance is directed toward collective well-being. Even in his later years, Salk remained engaged with scientific inquiry and public discourse. He sought to explore vaccines for HIV and continued to challenge assumptions and push boundaries. He remained a lifelong learner and contributor, embodying the idea that science is a continuous journey rather than a destination. His legacy lives, on not only in the millions of lives saved but in the values he upheld in honesty, service, and an unwavering belief in the potential of human ingenuity. His life illustrates that the most enduring advancements are those that blend technical excellence with ethical clarity. Jonas Salk's contribution to humanity through the development of the polio vaccine is more than a medical triumph. It is a testament to what is possible when science is guided by conscience. His life and work have become a blueprint for impactful innovation, reminding the world that the true value of discovery lies not in ownership, but in the positive difference it makes in people's lives. He exemplified how dedication to the public good can coexist with scientific rigor, setting a standard for future generations. Through his example, Salk teaches that every breakthrough carries a responsibility, and every success a duty to share. His story stands as a beacon of hope, proving that compassion, intelligence, and ethics. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. Alexander Fleming, the pioneering scientist who discovered penicillin, dramatically changed the course of medicine by introducing the world to the first true antibiotic. Born in 1881 in Ayrshire, Scotland, Fleming was raised on a modest farm where he developed a strong work ethic and curiosity about nature. These qualities would serve him well as he pursued education and eventually entered the field of medical science. After completing his studies at St. Mary's Hospital Medical School in London, he began his career as a researcher in bacteria. Though unassuming in appearance and soft-spoken in demeanor, Fleming possessed a sharp mind and an uncanny ability to observe the smallest of details, skills that would later lead to one of the most consequential scientific breakthroughs in history. His early work focused on antiseptics and the body's natural defenses, laying the groundwork for what would become his most celebrated discovery. Fleming's path to the discovery of penicillin was not a straight line, but rather a testament to the value of observation and open-mindedness in scientific inquiry. In 1928, upon returning from vacation, he noticed something unusual on a petri dish containing colonies of Staphylococcus bacteria. A mold, later identified as Penicillium notatum, had accidentally contaminated the dish and was surrounded by a clear zone where the bacteria had been destroyed. While many might have dismissed the anomaly as an error or contamination, Fleming's instinct led him to investigate further. He realized that the mold secreted a substance with the ability to kill harmful bacteria without harming human cells, a revelation that challenged the prevailing understanding of microbial treatment. This moment of insight marked the birth of penicillin, a discovery that would go on to save millions of lives and form the foundation of modern antibiotic therapy. Despite recognizing the potential of penicillin, Fleming initially faced significant challenges in isolating and stabilizing the substance for medical use. He conducted numerous experiments to test its effects and documented its ability to combat infections caused by various bacteria, including those responsible for pneumonia, scarlet fever, and meningitis. However, the technology and methods available at the time were insufficient for mass production or clinical use. Although Fleming published his findings in a scientific journal, his work received limited attention until more than a decade later. The turning point came during World War II, when a team of scientists at Oxford University, including Howard Florey and Ernst Boris Chain, built upon Fleming's initial work and developed a method to produce penicillin on a large scale. Their collaboration marked a crucial step in bringing the antibiotic from laboratory observation to practical application, ultimately transforming it into a miracle drug that could be deployed in hospitals and on battlefields. The introduction of penicillin into clinical practice represented a turning point in the history of medicine. Infections that were once fatal became treatable, and surgical procedures became safer due to the ability to manage post-operative infections effectively. The rapid success of penicillin led to a revolution in pharmaceuticals, sparking an era of antibiotic discovery that brought forth treatments for a wide range of bacterial diseases. Fleming's contribution was foundational, not only because of what he discovered, but because of the approach he embodied, one that combined scientific rigor with attentiveness to unexpected outcomes. He frequently reminded others that many of the most important discoveries occur not through deliberate design, but through the willingness to learn from accidents. His discovery became a case study in the importance of perseverance, attention to detail, and the courage to pursue unconventional paths in research. Fleming's influence extended well beyond the scientific community. He became a household name, honored with numerous awards, including the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1945. Which he shared with Florey and Chain. Despite international recognition, he remained humble and often credited others who contributed to the development and application of penicillin. His humility was matched by a sense of moral responsibility, as he warned about the potential misuse of antibiotics. Long before antibiotic resistance became a global issue, Fleming cautioned that improper usage could lead to diminished effectiveness and resistant strains of bacteria. This foresight demonstrated not only his scientific acumen, but also his ethical awareness, reinforcing the idea that progress must be accompanied by responsibility. Fleming's discovery also had profound economic and social implications. By drastically reducing the duration and severity of bacterial infections, penicillin lowered healthcare costs and improved workforce productivity. Hospital stays became shorter, mortality rates declined, and the economic burden of infectious diseases diminished. The accessibility of effective antibiotics allowed healthcare systems to allocate resources more efficiently and focus on preventive measures. His work contributed to a more resilient society, one better equipped to handle medical emergencies and reduce the spread of contagious diseases. In financial terms, the discovery of penicillin offered enormous returns on relatively modest investments in research, proving the immense value of funding scientific exploration. In addition to its direct medical benefits, penicillin paved the way for advancements in biotechnology and pharmacology. The success of penicillin motivated researchers and pharmaceutical companies to seek out other naturally occurring substances with therapeutic potential. This pursuit led to the discovery of antibiotics such as streptomycin, tetracycline, erythromycin, each building upon the foundational principles that began with Fleming's moldy petri dish. The development of these drugs accelerated scientific understanding of microbial resistance, metabolic pathways, and drug delivery systems, establishing entire new fields of study within medicine and biology. Fleming's legacy is thus woven into the very fabric of contemporary science, influencing disciplines far removed from his original focus. One of the most enduring aspects of Fleming's story is how it illustrates the importance of maintaining a sense of curiosity and humility. In scientific work, he did not set out to cure bacterial infections, but kept his mind open to the unexpected, allowing serendipity to guide discovery. His willingness to follow a lead that others might have ignored reminds us that innovation often emerges at the intersection of chance and preparation. His experience also emphasizes the importance of collaboration, as his discovery required the efforts of many others to become a global solution. The fusion of individual insight and collective action exemplifies how scientific progress is a shared endeavor, strengthened by diverse perspectives and complementary skills. Even in his later years, Fleming continued to advocate for responsible use of antibiotics and to educate the public about the limitations and potential risks of medical over-reliance. He remained engaged with the scientific community, mentoring young researchers and participating in international dialogues on public health. His personal integrity and professional dedication made him not just a pioneer of medicine, but a role model in ethical leadership. His life's work serves as a reminder that scientific excellence must be paired with a commitment to the welfare of society as a whole. Fleming's legacy is immortalized in both history, books, and modern healthcare practices. Hospitals, research institutions, and universities worldwide continue to honor his contributions, recognizing that his single discovery reshaped medical treatment forever. His work has saved hundreds of millions of lives, directly or indirectly, and continues to influence how diseases are treated to this day. Through his example, future generations of scientists are reminded of the profound impact that observation, patience, and ethical clarity can have on the world. Alexander Fleming may have stumbled upon penicillin by chance, but it was his insight, dedication, and moral vision that turned an accident into one of humanity's greatest medical achievements. His discovery didn't just end an era of fear surrounding bacterial infections, it opened a new chapter. Joseph Lister, pioneer of antiseptic surgery. Joseph Lister, widely regarded as the father of antiseptic surgery, reshaped the entire field of medical science by introducing sterilization practices that drastically reduced surgical mortality and infection rates. Born in 1827 in Essex, England, Lister was raised in a Quaker family that emphasized discipline, education, and scientific observation. From an early age, he exhibited a strong fascination with anatomy and medicine, leading him to pursue formal medical education at University College London. There, he excelled in both academics and practical training, developing a reputation for precision and critical thinking. At a time when surgical procedures were performed without concern for microbial contamination, And when postoperative infections like gangrene and sepsis were often fatal, Lister's emerging ideas about challenged the deeply entrenched norms of the medical establishment. His early surgical work was marked by a high degree of diligence and an unwillingness to accept that infection was an unavoidable consequence of operating on the human body. Inspired by the discoveries of Louis Pasteur regarding germ theory, which established the presence of microorganisms in air and their role in fermentation and decay, Lister made the crucial connection between airborne pathogens and surgical infections. He realized that invisible organisms could be responsible for the high number of deaths following routine operations, rather than attributing infections to environmental miasmas, a commonly held belief of the time. Lister hypothesized that these microorganisms could be neutralized through the use of chemical agents. In 1865, he began experimenting with carbonic acid, a substance known for its ability to deodorize sewage, to clean surgical instruments, wounds, and the hands of surgeons. His first major success came when he treated a young boy with a compound fracture using carbolic acid dressings. The boy healed without developing infection, which at the time was a rare and extraordinary outcome. This success laid the groundwork for Lister's antiseptic system, a methodology that involved sterilizing surgical environments, instruments, and dressings to prevent infection before it could take hold. Lister's approach was both methodical and revolutionary. He implemented strict protocols in his operating theaters, demanding that assistants and nurses adhere to rigorous standards of cleanliness. He introduced the use of sterilized threads for sutures and emphasized the importance of wearing clean surgical attire. Changes that were initially met with skepticism, but gradually proved transformative. He documented his procedures and outcomes, meticulously publishing his results in The Lancet, one of the leading medical journals. His publications provided detailed evidence that antiseptic methods significantly lowered the incidence of postoperative complications, offering a practical solution to one of the most persistent challenges in surgery. Although initially met with resistance from conservative circles in the medical field, Lister's results spoke for themselves, and support for his techniques grew rapidly across Europe and North America. Hospitals that adopted his principles experienced dramatic improvements in patient recovery and survival rates, validating his theories and setting a new standard for surgical practice. As Lister's methods gained recognition, they were adapted and expanded into what became known as aseptic technique, which aimed not only to kill germs but to prevent their introduction altogether. His pioneering work formed the foundation of modern infection control, influencing everything from operating room design to instrument manufacturing. The ripple effects of his contributions reached far beyond surgery. Fields such as obstetrics, dentistry, and emergency medicine adopted antiseptic principles to enhance patient safety. Lister's work also accelerated the development of new chemical disinfectants and sterilization technologies, fostering an industry dedicated to medical hygiene. His relentless advocacy for antiseptic methods transformed how healthcare professionals viewed cleanliness, shifting the perception from a nicety to a necessity. His influence was so profound that even non-medical institutions, such as public health departments and sanitation boards, began to incorporate elements of his approach into broader hygiene campaigns. Throughout his career, Lister remained a humble and principled figure. Despite his growing fame, he prioritized the dissemination of his findings over personal recognition. He lectured extensively, trained young surgeons, and maintained a steady stream of publications to ensure that his knowledge reached as many practitioners as possible. His insistence on data-driven results and reproducible outcomes helped elevate surgery from a craft based on tradition to a scientific discipline grounded in empirical evidence. He also emphasized the importance of continuous improvement, encouraging peers to refine and adapt his techniques in response to new findings. This open-minded attitude fostered a culture of innovation within the surgical community and inspired generations of medical professionals to pursue research and experimentation as integral parts of their practice. Lister's dedication to scientific rigor was matched by his commitment to patient care. He believed that every patient deserved the best possible chance at recovery, and that reducing unnecessary suffering was a moral imperative. His focus on prevention rather than treatment positioned him as a visionary in public health philosophy. By emphasizing proactive measures to avoid infection, he reduced the reliance on risky and often ineffective remedies administered after complications had already arisen. This shift in thinking aligned with emerging financial models that prioritized cost-effective care. Preventing infections not only saved lives, but also reduced hospital stays, surgical revisions, and the overall economic burden of healthcare. In this way, Lister's contributions served both humanitarian and financial objectives, demonstrating the value of investing in quality standards and systematic procedures. Lister's legacy continued to grow even after his retirement from active surgery. He was honored with numerous awards and titles, including a peerage, becoming the first British surgeon to be elevated to the House of Lords. Institutions around the world, from universities to hospitals, bore his name in recognition of his contributions. His work laid the conceptual framework for sterilization techniques that would later become essential in managing pandemics, producing vaccines, and performing organ transplants. The core ideas he introduced, clean environments, sterile instruments, and sanitized contact, remain fundamental to healthcare today. Lister's methods have proven resilient through evolving challenges in medicine, including the emergence of drug-resistant bacteria and the demands of high-risk surgeries, because they are rooted in a deep understanding of the biological basis of infection and a commitment to meticulous practice. Even outside the hospital, Lister's principles found application. His advocacy influenced industries like food production, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals, where hygiene and contamination control became vital components of quality assurance. The branding of consumer products such as antiseptics and mouthwashes with his name illustrates the broader cultural impact of his work. He became a symbol of safety and reliability, and his name conveyed trust in both medical and non-medical contexts. Lister's influence extended into medical education, where his story is taught as a cornerstone of surgical history, emphasizing not only the technical, but also the ethical dimensions of innovation. Future healthcare professionals are taught to view patient safety as a fundamental responsibility, a value Lister embedded into the very fabric of medical culture. By bridging the gap between theory and practice, Joseph Lister fundamentally altered the relationship between doctor and patient. His antiseptic techniques restored faith in surgical outcomes, encouraging more people to seek medical intervention rather than avoid it for fear of infection. This increased trust expanded the reach of modern medicine and contributed to a higher standard of care. Lister's work empowered surgeons to perform more complex procedures with greater confidence, leading to rapid advances in medical capabilities. As surgical success rates improved, public health improved, and the ripple effects touched nearly every aspect of society, from workforce productivity to life expectancy. Joseph Lister's contributions to medicine exemplify how scientific insight, when coupled with practical application and ethical conviction, can create a lasting impact on human welfare. His emphasis on meticulous cleanliness and structured processes transformed surgery from a risky last resort into a cornerstone of modern healthcare. His approach underscored that safety and success in medicine are not byproducts of luck or skill alone, but the result of disciplined systems, precise execution, and respect for the unseen mechanisms of biology. Through his work, Lister taught the world that invisible threats could be neutralized by visible effort, and that even the simplest acts, washing hands, cleaning tools, maintaining a sterile field, could hold the power to save lives on a massive scale. His legacy is etched into every modern operating room, every sterilization protocol, and every safe recovery. A silent yet powerful reminder that excellence in healthcare. Louis Pasteur developed vaccines and pasteurization. Louis Pasteur, a towering figure in the history of science and medicine, reshaped the foundations of microbiology with groundbreaking discoveries that have saved countless lives and redefined public health, agriculture, and industry. Born in 1822 in Dole, France, into a humble family, Pasteur displayed a deep passion for science from an early age. He pursued studies in chemistry and physics, initially showing an interest in before gradually turning his attention to biology and the microscopic world. His remarkable curiosity and meticulous approach to experimentation led him to challenge prevailing scientific beliefs, often stepping beyond conventional boundaries to uncover the hidden mechanisms behind disease and decay. In a time when theories like spontaneous generation still held sway, Pasteur dared to ask bold questions and seek provable answers through careful observation and methodical investigation. He believed that unseen life forms played a central role in various natural processes, an idea that at first faced skepticism, but would soon revolutionize science. One of Pasteur's earliest contributions came in the form of disproving spontaneous generation, the belief that life could arise from non-living matter. Through a series of ingenious experiments involving swan neck flasks and sterilized broths, He demonstrated that microbial life originated not from the environment itself, but from invisible organisms present in the air. This experiment, simple in its design yet profound in its implications, effectively ended centuries of misunderstanding and established the principle that life only comes from existing life. This insight laid the groundwork for the germ theory of disease, a concept that would become central to modern medicine. Germ theory proposed that microorganisms were responsible for causing specific illnesses, shifting the medical paradigm away from vague ideas of imbalances and miasmas toward a scientific understanding based on evidence and observable phenomena. Pasteur's ability to translate abstract theory into real-world applications became one of his most powerful tools in fighting disease. His work quickly expanded into practical applications, particularly in the fields of fermentation and food safety. In studying the spoilage of beverages like wine, beer, and milk, Pasteur discovered that specific microorganisms were responsible for undesired chemical changes. He developed a technique involving moderate heating to kill these microbes without altering the taste or nutritional value of the product. This method, known today as pasteurization, became a standard practice in the food and beverage industry, dramatically reducing instances of foodborne illness and extending the shelf life of consumables. Pasteurization not only protected public health but also had far-reaching economic benefits by minimizing waste and improving product quality. It demonstrated that scientific innovation could yield both health advantages and financial returns, reinforcing the value of investing in research and development. Beyond food safety, Pasteur's most celebrated achievements came through his pioneering work in immunology and vaccine development. His breakthrough began with his research into chicken cholera, where he noticed that exposure to weakened forms of the pathogen could protect animals from future infections. This accidental discovery led him to develop the concept of a deliberate weakening of a virus or bacterium to stimulate immunity without causing illness. He applied this principle to other diseases, most notably anthrax, which was decimating livestock across Europe. His successful vaccination of animals against anthrax confirmed the effectiveness of his method and earned him recognition as a leader in scientific medicine. These early vaccines formed the basis for many that would follow, including those used to combat deadly human diseases like smallpox, rabies, and tuberculosis. Perhaps Pasteur's most dramatic achievement came with the development of the rabies vaccine. At a time when rabies was considered universally fatal, he embarked on a high-stakes effort to create a preventative treatment. His vaccine was first administered to a young boy who had been bitten by a rabid dog, a decision that carried enormous personal and professional risk. The treatment proved successful, catapulting Pasteur to international acclaim and transforming public perception of scientific medicine. This moment also emphasized the power of research to bridge fear and hope, showing that even the most terrifying diseases could be confronted with knowledge and ingenuity. His success inspired the establishment of the Pasteur Institute in 1887, an institution devoted to infectious disease research, vaccine production, and medical education. This institute became a hub for global collaboration and continues to operate as a leading center for biomedical research. Pasteur's influence reached beyond laboratories and hospitals, as his work fundamentally altered how societies approached hygiene, vaccination, and disease prevention. His findings prompted governments and health authorities to adopt sanitation measures, improve medical training, and implement public vaccination programs. These reforms significantly reduced mortality rates and improved quality of life, particularly in densely populated urban areas where disease spread rapidly. Pasteur's legacy also includes contributions to veterinary science, agriculture, and industrial microbiology, illustrating the versatility and breadth of his impact. Whether preventing silkworm disease or ensuring the purity of dairy products, his research touched every corner of human health and economic stability. A crucial element of Pasteur's success was his unwavering belief in the power of observation and experimentation. He famously stated that chance favors the prepared mind, and his career embodied this philosophy. Rather than relying on speculation or tradition, he insisted on thorough testing, data collection, and reproducibility. This disciplined approach not only elevated the standard of scientific inquiry, but also built public trust in science. People began to see scientists not just as theorists, but as problem solvers capable of improving everyday life. Pasteur's work ethic and commitment to accuracy became a model for future generations, setting the tone for modern research institutions and health organizations. His emphasis on collaboration and Interdisciplinary learning further expanded the impact of his discoveries. He worked alongside chemists, physicians, veterinarians, and engineers to develop solutions that were both scientifically sound and practically applicable. This spirit of cooperation paved the way for modern healthcare teams that integrate expertise from multiple fields to address complex challenges. Pasteur demonstrated that scientific progress depends not only on individual brilliance, but also on the ability to work together toward common goals. His humility, despite immense success, kept him focused on the larger mission of serving humanity through knowledge. Pasteur's story is also one of resilience and perseverance. He faced numerous setbacks, including professional criticism, failed experiments, and health problems, yet he remained committed to his vision. His ability to adapt, refine, and persist allowed him to overcome obstacles and turn setbacks into stepping stones. This resilience, combined with intellectual rigor, enabled him to achieve breakthroughs that others thought impossible. He transformed how diseases were understood, diagnosed, and treated, influencing every medical advancement that followed. Even today, his principles underpin public health strategies, from vaccine rollouts to infection control in hospitals. In financial terms, the long-term value of Pasteur's contributions is incalculable. By reducing disease burden, his work saved countless lives and improved economic productivity on a global scale. Healthy populations require fewer medical interventions, experience less work disruption, and contribute more effectively to societal growth. His innovations not only alleviated human suffering, but also enhanced national and global resilience in the face of health threats. The returns generated from investments in vaccination programs and sanitation infrastructure underscore the importance of science-led policies in achieving sustainable development and economic security. Pasteur's name has become synonymous with innovation, integrity, and impact. His legacy is visible in every vaccinated child, every bottle of safely stored milk, and every medical breakthrough built upon the foundation he laid. His contributions continue to resonate, reminding the world that progress comes not just from discovery, but from the determination to apply knowledge for the betterment of all. His life serves as a blueprint for how science, when aligned with ethical purpose and persistent effort, can transform the human experience. Louis Pasteur did not merely study microbes, he reshaped civilization's relationship with disease, safety, and survival, proving that vision and science, united by purpose, can indeed change the course of history. Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis. Sigmund Freud, often hailed as the father of psychoanalysis, profoundly influenced the study of the human mind and reshaped the foundations of modern psychology through theories that explored the complexity of thought, emotion, and unconscious behavior. Born in 1856 in the town of Freiburg, in the Austrian Empire, Freud showed early intellectual promise and a deep curiosity about human nature. He initially pursued a career in medicine, focusing on neurology, but his observations and insights eventually steered him toward the study of the psyche. His early clinical work with patients suffering from neurological disorders that lacked any identifiable physical cause led him to suspect that deeper, unseen mental forces were influencing behavior and illness. This realization set him on a path to develop a new approach to therapy that would seek to uncover the hidden motivations behind a person's conscious experience. Freud's revolutionary idea was that human behavior is largely driven by unconscious desires and repressed memories, many of which are rooted in early childhood experiences. This concept challenged the rational view of the human mind that dominated scientific thought at the time and introduced a nuanced model of the psyche, composed of dynamic internal conflicts. Freud proposed a structural framework of the mind consisting of the id, ego, and superego, each representing different facets of psychological function. The id embodies primal urges and operates on instinct, seeking immediate gratification. The ego serves as the rational mediator that navigates the demands of reality, while the superego encompasses internalized moral values and societal expectations. According to Freud, psychological distress often results from tensions and imbalances among these components. He developed the method of psychoanalysis to address these conflicts, aiming to bring unconscious material into conscious awareness through techniques such as free association, dream interpretation, and analysis of slips of the tongue. Freud sought to reveal the underlying causes of mental disturbances. His sessions encouraged patients to speak freely without censorship, allowing suppressed thoughts and memories to surface. This therapeutic process was designed to relieve internal tension by confronting and integrating repressed material, fostering insight and emotional healing. Freud's insights into dream analysis opened new avenues for understanding the symbolic nature of the unconscious. He argued that dreams are expressions of hidden wishes and unresolved conflicts, often disguised through metaphor and displacement. In his seminal work, The Interpretation of Dreams, Freud outlined how dream content could be analyzed to uncover the latent meanings behind seemingly random imagery. He introduced the concept of manifest content, the literal storyline of a dream, and latent content, the underlying psychological meaning. This distinction revealed the complex layers of mental activity that operate beyond conscious awareness, positioning dreams as a valuable window into the workings of the inner mind. His exploration of symbolism, repression, and the mechanisms of defense influenced not only psychology, but also literature, art, and popular culture, as people began to appreciate the psychological depth of human expression. Freud's theory of psychosexual development further expanded his understanding of personality formation. He proposed that individuals progress through a series of stages: oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital, each characterized by the focus of libido energy on different parts of the body. According to Freud, unresolved conflicts at any stage could lead to fixation, influencing adult personality and behavior. While some aspects of this theory have been criticized or revised, the underlying idea that early childhood experiences shape future mental and emotional life remains widely accepted. Freud's emphasis on developmental influences and internal conflict laid the groundwork for subsequent psychological theories and therapeutic models. From object relations to attachment theory, his ideas encouraged a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human growth and the importance of early relationships in shaping identity and resilience. Freud's work was also pioneering in recognizing the importance of defense mechanisms, strategies used by the ego to manage anxiety and internal conflict. Mechanisms such as denial, projection, repression, and displacement are now common terms in both clinical practice and everyday language. By identifying how the mind protects itself from distressing thoughts and emotions, Freud provided tools for understanding and addressing dysfunctional patterns. His concepts highlighted the adaptive yet potentially limiting nature of defense, encouraging therapists to explore the protective structures that may hinder self-awareness and growth. This understanding of the mind's protective operations helped frame mental health not as a binary of illness and wellness, but as a spectrum of coping strategies, some effective and others maladaptive, that evolve over time. Freud's influence extended well beyond the therapy room. He was a prolific writer and speaker who engaged with philosophical, social, and cultural questions through a psychological lens. His theories addressed themes such as religion, civilization, and the nature of human aggression, offering interpretations that sparked widespread debate and reflection. In works like Civilization and Its Discontents, Freud examined the tension between individual desires and societal constraints, suggesting that the repression required for civilized life often leads to internal dissatisfaction. These explorations positioned psychoanalysis not just as a therapeutic method, but as a broad framework for understanding human behavior in various contexts. Freud's interdisciplinary approach attracted scholars and thinkers from diverse fields, fostering a rich dialogue that continues to influence academic discourse today. Despite the controversies surrounding some of his theories, Freud's contribution to the mental health profession is undeniable. He established a foundation for talk therapy and legitimized the therapeutic exploration of internal experience as a valid and necessary process. He elevated the role of the therapist as a skilled listener and interpreter, someone capable of guiding clients through the labyrinth of their thoughts and feelings. His method empowered individuals to confront their inner realities and take ownership of their emotional lives. Over time, psychoanalysis evolved and branched into numerous schools of thought, including Jungian, Adlerian, and object relations theory, each of which built upon or reacted to Freud's initial insights. These developments reflect the lasting relevance and adaptability of his core principles. Even as the field continues to grow and diversify, Freud's legacy also includes his role in shaping therapeutic ethics and professional standards. He emphasized the importance of confidentiality, the therapeutic alliance, and the careful handling of transference where patients project feelings onto the therapist based on past relationships. These principles have become foundational in psychotherapy training and practice, ensuring that therapy provides a safe, respectful, and effective environment for personal exploration. Freud's attention to the emotional dynamics between therapist and patient highlighted the relational aspect of healing, a perspective that has been expanded in modern relational and interpersonal therapies. His acknowledgement of the therapist's influence on the therapeutic process emphasized the importance of self-awareness and professional boundaries in fostering genuine change. In the financial realm, Freud's work indirectly contributed to increased awareness of mental health as an essential component of productivity, workplace performance, and societal well-being. By establishing mental health care as a professional discipline, he opened avenues for employment, education, and institutional development in psychology and counseling. The ripple effects of psychoanalytic thinking have reached corporate wellness programs, leadership coaching, and even marketing strategies that seek to understand consumer motivations. Freud's emphasis on unconscious desires has informed advertising and behavioral economics, fields that analyze human decisions from both rational and emotional standpoints. His ideas about inner conflict, symbolic behavior, and emotional drives continue to shape how organizations view talent development, team dynamics, and consumer behavior. This interdisciplinary influence demonstrates that psychological insight, when applied ethically and strategically, can enhance both individual fulfillment and economic outcomes. Freud's contributions to society endure because they address fundamental questions about what it means to be human. His insistence that we examine our inner lives, confront uncomfortable truths, and embrace the complexity of emotion and thought has inspired generations to seek understanding beyond surface appearances. Even as newer models of therapy have emerged, the foundational importance of introspection, personal narrative, and unconscious influence remains central to psychological care. Freud encouraged a culture of questioning and dialogue, where self-exploration is not a luxury but a pathway to freedom and clarity. His work reminds us that healing involves more than solving problems. It requires listening, learning, and looking inward with honesty and courage. Sigmund Freud's legacy lives not only in textbooks and clinics, but in every effort to understand the deeper layers of human motivation and meaning. Carl Jung, founder of analytical psychology. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, introduced a groundbreaking perspective on the human mind that emphasized depth, symbolism, and personal transformation, shaping how individuals understand their inner world and emotional development. Born in 1875 in Kessel, Switzerland, Jung grew up surrounded by academic influences, particularly from his father, a pastor, and other clergy members in his extended family. From an early age, he displayed a strong interest in philosophy, mythology, and the spiritual dimensions of human experience. After studying medicine and specializing in psychiatry, Jung began his professional career at the Berg-Holzli Psychiatric Hospital in Zurich, where he gained recognition for his work with patients diagnosed with schizophrenia and other severe mental disorders. His clinical experience led him to question the existing models of the psyche, prompting him to seek deeper explanations for behavior and mental illness beyond observable symptoms. Jung's early collaboration with Sigmund Freud had a significant impact on his thinking, but he eventually broke away due to fundamental differences in their views on the unconscious and the scope of psychological development. While Freud emphasized repressed desires and childhood experiences, Jung believed in a broader framework that included future aspirations, spiritual influences, and the collective unconscious as crucial aspects of the psyche. Jung introduced the concept of the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experiences, symbols, and archetypes that transcend personal memory and are embedded in the psyche of all individuals. He argued that certain patterns of thought and behavior are inherited and expressed through universal images, known as archetypes, which appear in myths, dreams, art, and religious traditions across cultures and time periods. These archetypes, such as the hero, the shadow, the mother, and the wise old man, serve as templates for interpreting experiences and navigating psychological growth. Jung believed that, by becoming aware of these inner patterns, individuals could gain insight into their behavior, motivations, and emotional conflicts. His approach emphasized integration rather than suppression of these forces, encouraging people to acknowledge and work with their unconscious material to achieve a balanced personality. He coined the process of individuation, a lifelong journey of psychological maturation, in which a person becomes more whole and authentic by integrating various parts of the self, including the conscious and unconscious aspects. A key element of Jung's model was the exploration of the personal unconscious. which consists of repressed memories, forgotten experiences, and unrealized potential. In contrast to Freud's focus on pathology, Jung placed greater importance on growth, meaning, and transformation. He viewed psychological conflict not as something to be eradicated, but as a source of potential development and self-discovery. Jung believed that symptoms and inattentions often signal a deeper need for change and realignment, offering an opportunity to uncover hidden truths and purpose. He encouraged the use of dreams, fantasies, and active imagination as tools for engaging with the unconscious. Through symbolic interpretation, individuals could decode messages from within, uncovering insights that helped guide personal evolution. This imaginative and holistic approach to therapy became a hallmark of analytical psychology, distinguishing it from more behaviorally or cognitively oriented methods. Jung also introduced the influential theory of psychological types, which later served as the foundation for personality assessments, such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. He identified two primary attitudes in an extroversion and, for cognitive functions, thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. By combining these elements, Jung outlined different personality structures that influence how people perceive the world and make decisions. His typology provided a new lens through which to understand individual differences, communication styles, and relational dynamics. It emphasized that personal growth involves recognizing and developing less dominant aspects of one's personality to achieve greater adaptability and self-awareness. Jung's typology not only enriched clinical practice but also found applications in education, leadership development, and organizational consulting, helping people align their work and relationships with their innate preferences and capacities. In his exploration of spirituality and religion, Jung viewed symbols, rituals, and religious narratives as expressions of deep psychological truths. He argued that spiritual experience reflects the psyche's attempt to find unity, transcendence, and a sense of meaning. Unlike Freud, who saw religion largely as an illusion rooted in neurosis, Jung recognized its psychological value and transformative power. He believed that inner wholeness often involved reconciling with spiritual archetypes and exploring personal mythologies. This perspective resonated with individuals seeking a more integrative and respectful approach to the spiritual dimension of life. Jung's work offered a psychological framework for interpreting sacred texts, meditative practices, and spiritual awakening without reducing them to pathology. His approach bridged psychology and philosophy, suggesting that healing involves aligning with deeper truths and recognizing the sacred elements of existence. Jung's extensive engagement with myths, dreams, and cultural symbolism led him to conduct cross-cultural research and dialogue with diverse traditions, including Eastern philosophies, alchemy, and indigenous spiritual practices. He believed that wisdom from different civilizations could illuminate universal psychological themes and enhance self-understanding. His comparative studies highlighted the psychological significance of transformation stories, initiation rites, and sacred symbols found across the world. By identifying common patterns in human experience, Jung demonstrated the interconnectedness of humanity and the shared challenges of growth, identity, and purpose. His openness to diverse perspectives made his work appealing to a broad audience and contributed to the development of transpersonal psychology, which seeks to integrate the spiritual and transcendent dimensions of the human experience. In his therapeutic practice, Jung emphasized the importance of the therapeutic relationship as a dynamic interplay between two evolving individuals. He encouraged therapists to engage authentically with their clients, recognizing that healing involves mutual transformation and emotional resonance. Jung's focus on empathy, intuition, and symbolic communication deepened the art of psychotherapy and expanded its scope beyond symptom reduction. He believed that each client carried a unique life narrative that deserved to be explored with care and creativity. His encouragement of self-reflection and creative expression empowered individuals to become active participants in their healing journey. This collaborative and respectful approach laid the foundation for humanistic and existential forms of therapy, which prioritized meaning, autonomy, and the human capacity for growth. Jung's work also influenced art therapy, dream work, and expressive modalities that use symbols, imagery, and nonverbal communication to access inner truths. He saw creativity as a vital force for psychological renewal and encouraged the use of drawing, journaling, and storytelling to externalize and process unconscious content. His belief in the healing power of imagination helped normalize the use of metaphor and myth in therapeutic settings. Jung's emphasis on creativity provided an alternative to purely analytical methods, highlighting the importance of intuitive and experiential forms of insight. This broadened the appeal of analytical psychology and contributed to more holistic approaches to mental wellness. In terms of real-world application, Jung's theories have informed practices in education, corporate training, and leadership development. His insights into personality types have been used to build effective teams, improve communication, and foster personal development in professional settings. Organizations have adopted his frameworks to cultivate emotional intelligence, resilience, and alignment with core values, by helping individuals understand their motivations and relational patterns. Jungian psychology contributes to workplace harmony and leadership effectiveness. His influence demonstrates that psychological insight is not confined to clinical practice, but is a valuable asset in strategic decision-making and human resource development. The economic implications of improved self-awareness, communication, and team cohesion reflect the broader relevance of Jung's contributions. Jung's lasting legacy lies in his deep respect for the complexity and richness of the human psyche. He offered a vision of mental health that goes beyond symptom relief to include self-realization, inner harmony, and meaningful living. His theories continue to inspire therapists, educators, artists, and thinkers who seek to understand the depths of human experience and support the journey toward authenticity. Jung reminded the world that healing involves integrating light and shadow, reason and emotion, the personal and the universal. His work endures not because it offers easy answers, but because it invites people to explore their inner world with curiosity, honesty, and courage. Carl Jung's analytical psychology remains a guiding light for those committed to self-discovery, emotional balance, and the ongoing pursuit of a fulfilled and purposeful life.